So we created the auth guard and used it to protect the book flight component so far. Now let's review the navigation flow after logging in. After logging in, the application always redirects the user to the search flight component. So imagine that you have found a flight and you are going to book it, but you aren't logged in, right? The application redirects you directly to the login page, and after logging in, it redirects you again to the search flight component. So you have to start your search from scratch again to find the flight and book it. It makes a way better experience for you if the application opens the requested page, which is the book flight component in this scenario, after logging in. So let's do it. Okay, so we should redirect the user back to the page he had requested before logging in. Let's pass the requested URL to the register passenger component so that the register passenger component can navigate to that page after login. That may sound complicated now, but it's really very easy. Let's go to our authguard.ts, and here in our this router navigate, right? Array navigate to our register passenger component. Inside of that array, pass in a new object and set the requested URL to be state.url. Let's save it. This is already all we have to do from that first site, right? So we keep in mind, okay, where did the user want to go initially before he came to that can activate, right? So I want to go to book flight, for example, then state URL will be booked flight, so the requested one, right? We just simply save it. Great. So now inside register passenger, right? Because we're sending it, or including it to the navigation, we navigate to register passenger and keep that original information where the user wanted to go after registration, or however before the middleware of registration or logging in took place. We now switch over to the register passenger component, right? Because this is where we're getting to with the information of the requested URL. So go ahead and open it up, register passenger.ts. So in the register passenger component, we now go to the router here and take the activated route. That's what we need. And then for sure, when we go here into the constructor, we got the router, and we also have the private activated route, which is activated route. There we go. Now, first of all, let's define a variable which can be null. So requested URL, add that question mark of type string is undefined, right? Because there can be a way where the user simply wants to log in without getting redirected to somewhere else. So we might not always have a requested URL. So it's potentially being null. This is why we add a question mark and set it to undefined. Now we go into our ng-on-init lifecycle hook that we got here, right? And inside ng-on-init, we say this dot activated route dot params dot subscribe to parameter goes to this dot requested URL equals to p, the parameter or parameters, and we take that from an array requested URL or from a list. There we go. So we go into the parameters here from the activated route, right? And then we set the requested URL, our variable or our field, to be from the parameters the requested URL, which is inside of the activated route. This is all we have to do. Now we got the requested URL, and we can simply, well, check for login. Just a second. There we go. Private login. This router navigate to search flights, for example. But as I said, this is just for example, because the user does not always have to get back to search flights, right? This is one of our issues in the software of the UX part, user experience. Instead, we go ahead and simply say this dot requested URL, and if it's null, we go ahead to search flights. So we redirect him to the requested URL, which gets provided from the auth guard, right? So if we have that requested URL, we're gonna send the user after logging in to that requested URL, and if it's null, we send him to search flights. Great. So this is all we have to do. Now start the application, take a look. For this specific case, I will now go ahead and completely restart the application so that everything is completely cleared and all lists are getting, well, new generated so that we don't have any passengers in any accounts. Great, so now we are here. All right, completely fresh site. Let me search for flight. You can see we got here American Airlines. Let's take that one. Let me book that. Now I have to register. JL@dev. There we go. Now let me click on mail here, log in, and you can see afterwards we still get to the same page. So you can see the route here, localhost, right, book flight with the same ID. So I did not get redirected to logging in or to search flight again. And now I can simply book and I got it booked, right? So now it's really acting like a real-world application. So those are the things that you really need when you want to book real-world applications, because those stuff is really used a lot of times. And if you use a very nice system like Angular route guards, then it's even more professional from your side. So now we massively improved our user experience from the application. And I know that maybe you wanted to have that at the very first parts of the course, but there was a lot of stuff in between. And that's why we weren't able to bring it to the very first section of the course, and instead, well, did everything step by step and brought it to the, well, nearly very end of the 21-day challenge. So no worries, 2 topics are definitely left. First of all, we have to implement here that, well, searching filter, right? So this is for the very last day. So one of the most interesting sections is at the last day. And we for sure also have to switch from our in-memory database stuff to a real SQL database. So this is for tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow we got the search filtering. So afterwards you will have a real-world application which is persistently storing data, having real filters and a clean user experience. And that's it for today. So I hope you learned a lot of new stuff and had some fun during learning, and I'll see you back tomorrow.